amend the agenda to, all of you have on your tables there, of FOS, a Friends report, I'm sorry, a Friends report and a Foundation report. And if we could just add that to the consent agenda, we'll put those in as the reports rather than doing a verbal one today. Okay? And with that change, can I ask for a motion to approve the agenda as it is now amended?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you, Gail.
Second that motion.
Okay, Barbara, okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay. And then like to get a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes, et cetera, that we all have in front of us.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I
Okay.
did want to make one note on the meeting minutes.
Yes.
It's very minor, but it had there the subcommittee for reviewing the strategic plan. It had some names that I don't think we mentioned in the meeting. My understanding, but I have my notes was that it was going to be Christine, Garrett, and I as the heads of our committees, that Janet was maybe excused because she has so much on her plate. That's what I had in my notes. I might be mistaken, but I just wanted to
On
either
the
get
strategic plan.
clarification on
Right.
that. And then in email, we did have some other discussions and other people involved, but just wanted to clarify that for the minutes.
Okay. Donna, how do I deal with that as far as you make the change? Thank you. Okay. So with Emily's comments on that, can I get a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't miss anything,
You didn't miss
You didn't.
anything.
because I
no.
read that and I thought, oh, good Lord.
No, you were fine on that.
She doesn't, she's doing a lot.
Right. And we were trying to also want to keep the group small enough as it was.
Yeah, that's a
Taking
lot,
some effort to get to this
lot of
point.
people.
Okay, so Gail has made a motion. We accept it as amended. And do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All in favor, aye?
Uh,
Opposed? No? Okay, that passes. Okay, let's just jump right on to our agenda. First, I would like to thank everyone for coming today. There's a question whether we should do this remotely or in person. And despite Omicron, it just seems like when we can meet in person, it's nice to be able to do that. And I think we just share things a little bit better. So we're spaced out down here and we think we're well set on the safety side of it. So thank you. Okay, any public comments? We don't have anyone that I can see. Okay, we're going to skip over the Friends because that report was included in there. You each have a copy of it and can read it at your leisure. And we're going to do the same with the Foundation. Susan wanted to be here today, but she has a Foundation subcommittee meeting or something. I can't remember what it was even. I apologize. Maybe it was. Anyway, so she cannot be here today, but she has sent us a great report also. So that's going to move us right along to Scott's administration report.
The big thing to add is that since our last meeting, the Omicron surge has hit the library. And so we've had to deal with it just the way everyone else is dealing with it. We've had about every single location has had people exposed or test positive. We haven't had really any impacts in operations. I had one morning at our North Avenue branch where we had somebody call out at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and we struggled to get the library open by noon, but we did get the library open by noon. So the operational thing that we discussed of twinning libraries has been working. And that's kind of helped us get through it. The big thing that really helped us in December was when they lowered the quarantine and isolation from 10 to 5 days. So people can return once they're feeling better, or once they're not showing symptoms. So that's been helpful. But in the last week and a half, it seems as though the frequency of cases has gone down. It was almost like every day we were getting contacts from the COVID hotline that we had people having to deal with the virus, but we've been a little less in the last week and a half. So that's been a trend in a positive direction. I do want to point out from the consent agenda, the circulation is remaining strong. Door count is still low, and that's because of our hours, and we're not having things going on in our spaces. And it's going to hold that way until we can until we get out of the Omicron. We're going to revisit. We're monitoring the Omicron situation weekly. Right now, the positivity is about 30%. That's not the only indicator that we're using to determine like when to turn things up or turn things down, but we are keeping an eye on it. I think we notified you all that we removed furniture from a lot of our branches to try and encourage people to keep moving in the space and not linger. We still have computers open at all locations, spaced out. At some locations where computers are really tight, we shut down some computers to keep people distanced. But that has been really the major change that we've done to really kind of handle Omicron. Hopefully, if this downward trend continues, we can start turning some of those things back on. So that's the current status with Omicron, really how it's impacting our circulation or impacting our door count, but still circulation is strong. I do want to let you know that we distributed the test kits. That went on for about 30 days. We started about mid-December, and BDH ran out of kits about the second week of January. We distributed a total of 3,226 kits.
Wow.
We did that throughout the system, so each branch got like a portion, and then they would distribute it as quickly, as rapidly as possible. And they went fast, so. And that went pretty well. We're hoping that they'll get more kits, so we'll distribute them again. But this kit problem may go away because now that the government is sending them to everyone. So we'll see what the next step is with that. I want to let you know that the mayor will do a state of the city on February 8th at 6 o'clock. You might watch where that gets broadcast. I think originally I'd seen it was going to be on Facebook Live, but it may be on something else. So just mark that date, February 6th at 6 o'clock.
We're 6 and
6
8.
to 8.
I'm sorry, February 8th at 6 o'clock, excuse me.
Hey, Scott, I have a question.
Mhm.
Because you have experience with these things, are you seeing that 5 days is enough?
It seems that way.
Okay.
We have some people that I really honestly believe because everyone was vaccinated, that helped. Those who were boosted, who got it, they had even less symptoms. And they were able to return a lot faster or had very few. That's what we've seen. So that's so far we're back. We're easing back to where we were in terms of that. It feels like it's moved through our staff, and we'll see. A lot of the cases seem to be people that they were exposed to at home, but you can't necessarily say that they weren't exposed here. But we just reiterated that keep your distance, wear your mask. We did purchase KN95 masks and provided those to every location for distribution. So if people wanted to upgrade their masks, we could do that. A lot of the kits that we distributed, we made sure staff got one of those kits so that they could take care of them if they had questions. So we've tried to do as much as we can to mitigate and safely allow our folks to remain working.
So you may not know this, and it may not matter, but are they getting the exposure at work or other places?
It's really hard to say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I asked the question, I realized it would be hard to tell.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but there are many times where it seems like they caught it from someone in their house.
Yeah.
Either a child
Yeah.
or a family member,
Yeah.
or it seemed very high after Christmas. And I feel like a lot of people were doing holiday things. and,
Mhm, okay.
that-
Okay. So we're
We-
creating a nice, safe workplace is what I want to make sure.
I think
of.
we're doing the best we can.
Okay.
Some will, I think some staff are very concerned, but I feel the steps, when we took the steps to pull the furniture out, I think that was like an intermediate step to, besides going all the way back to curbside. I think some people would have liked to seen us just close.
Mhm.
And the city encouraged everyone to work from home, but unfortunately, many of our staff can't work from home. And we have very few staff that are working from home. We allow staff to work from home if there are tasks that they can do from home, so we'll let people work from home, but in general, I would say 90.
We're a customer facing
Right.
We are.
organization. Yeah,
And it's really important, I think, that our administrative staff, we're also in the space.
Yeah.
too.
got to
If
lead
I'm-
by example. Yeah.
Right, if we're asking our staff to be here, then I think we need to also be here.
Yeah.
So I think for the most, we're doing that. And that's why I'm glad that the board is meeting in person. I mean, we're safely meeting, we're all masked. And I hope that supports our staff who are in the field. But it's just, it would be nice, and I think we all can feel how exhausting this has been. I think we've all reached the point where, aren't we ready for this to be over? But I don't think it's ready to be over with us. So hopefully we're on this downward trend
Mhm.
and we move from the pandemic to endemic and we start doing what we need to do. So,
No, I was kidding. I said, I think your time's up, Barbara's.
I'm done.
All right, you did go a little over, Scott. Oh, but you know, I have to say this, I brought back some books to the library just this morning, and just knowing that the return box is no longer outside was kind of like an encouraging thought. I said, well, it looks like we are open in a different, I think what what staff is doing and what you're trying to do is so important. But it also says to the community that you all are here for us, and that's a powerful message.
And our staff, our managers and our library staff have been just amazing to have the courage to show up to work and to do the things that we need to do to take care of each other and get the job done is really important. I think we are we're trying to return to normalcy, and I think it means a lot to our users.
Yeah.
Distributing the test kits. I included a note in here. I hope you saw it. It's in the back of
did.
the thing that it was a thank you note that patrons sent to Westover Hills. Just thanking them for, hey, it means so much
Yeah.
that you all did this. And it's been, the test kit distribution has been kind of controversial. I'm on a listserv for the state of Virginia, and there's libraries all over the state that have different attitudes about how to do this, and whether it even should be done in the first place. It's almost as diverse as the arguments we're getting in over masking wherever.
Yeah.
And our staff is tired. It's been a real challenge for them because we have patrons that come in and they refuse to wear masks, and they have to be told, and they have to be politely asked, and we have to explain to them that it's a civic space and that this is a mandate from the city and we need you to do it. And yet we have to have arguments, but they are doing an amazing job. And I think you're right. I think it means so much to our community that we're here. And somebody can come in and get a book because there's so few things that we can do.
That is very true.
So,
And I do appreciate the local.
yeah.
I went to 2 libraries to get those kits for my granddaughter. I mean, she was so pleased with those, so please encourage them to keep up. As a matter of fact, I got the last one at one of the branches, but
The take and make.
Yep. And her friends were jealous and.
Yeah. Well, those things should not be discounted, and I'm very proud of our staff, and I don't know that sometimes they realize how thankful and appreciative that our community is, because it's so hard because you have to deal with some of these negative circumstances, and those overshadow all of the positive interactions that we have. So.
Thank you. Anything else in admin you want to talk about?
That covers everything.
Okay.
A lot of the other stuff is in the report.
Yeah. I would say it's a good comprehensive report. I'm going to jump in with Chairman's report and touch on the circulation. Scott's already talked about it, and he mentioned the door count issue, and there's not a lot we can do about door count right now until we start being able to do programs again, just all the things that get people to want to come into the library, as opposed to even just getting books and quickly. It's a little bit hard to do. But I was really impressed at the diversity of the branches that had good increases in circulation. If you look, Maine's down a little bit, but I think that's natural because the other branches are up a little bit, mainly. But we saw most of the branches, if you look at the report, up to where they were 3 years ago, which is a very positive step with everything going on. And several of them setting records for the month. So anyway, I think that our staff does get a lot of credit for making that continue happening. And it shows how people, even with all of the hype about Omicron and everything going on, they're still looking to the library. They're still feeling that, we actually have more need now maybe than when everything's going well outside. So positive about that. I'd like to quickly touch on, we're going to get to this a little bit more when Chris talks about advocacy, but I wanted to let y'all know that Chris, Scott, Laura, and I had a Teams meeting with Link Saunders, the deputy CAO of the city, and Reggie Gordon, what's his current title?
He's the
You will?
DCAO, Deputy
Deputy.
City Administrative Officer.
Okay, and he's got
Human
Austin
Services.
Community Wealth Building, all human services under him. So we fall into there, as well as Parks and Rec and a lot of the other groups like that. And we talked to them primarily because we wanted to try to get in front of them and in front of the budget a little bit. We're going to talk about this more with advocacy. We wanted to let them know that the plan that Chris is pushing here, that's going to be talking about here, that we're pushing forward with it. And we didn't want to blindside the city administration. And I just wanted to let y'all know that one of the things we talked to them about, well, the main thing we talked to them about was the budget. We led to it by where the library fits in the city and all the things we're trying to do with it. But the budget and two numbers that I thought were really important to bring out to them, and I'm going to bring out to you, is that our budget is down about 7% from where it was pre-COVID. And during that same time, because of raises and well-deserved for the staff, not a complaint, but because of increased cost of HR, we're up 7 or 8% on the labor side of it. So when you look at it, we've got a pretty big delta just to get back to where we were. So Chris leading this is really trying to move us to the point that our city council people and the mayor's office and their budgeting really does see the need to move not back to where we were, not to, well, you're not cut much more than others, et cetera, but back to where we can have the hours open, where we can do all of these things. And I'll tell you that we asked that they bump our budget to about 8 million. I don't know that we're going to get there, but that's
Good starting point.
that's the starting point, and that's the one that we want to really push. That's what it's going to take to get the library properly staffed, so that when we have someone out sick, it's not 3 hours of scrambling to get someone in there, but that we can actually do that pretty routinely, et cetera. So anyway, I think we're in progress on that. Link Saunders was pleasant, non-committal, which one expected in a meeting like that. But he did suggest that we get more of the information about what we're doing through Reggie. And he understands that we're also doing that through the council members. And we are working on coordinating a meeting with Reggie. We've been trying to get that set up for a little while now.
So I'm just going to add that Bill was a very strong proponent to the library. He
Thank you. Well,
just exactly the voice we needed. And he, I'm along for the ride for this. He's
No.
pushing the inside play, the city government. So Reggie is next.
Yeah.
But Bill's showing really great strength in going after this.
Thank you, Chris. And then actually, Chris, we sort of split things very nicely, I think.
Yeah.
And that Chris is hitting the softer, the emotional aspects of it very well, that ties. And she had a wonderful idea that I'd like to use with, I'm going to use with Andreas Addison, my council member, when we get to there. But said one of the first things she wanted to do was ask Mr. Saunders about an experience that he'd had with the library, just sort of a memory that he has or something, so to get that reminder of things, and then that
They
link back
always
to.
smile when
Right.
they think about their library memory. It's
Yeah.
always a happy memory. They always smile, and the rest of the meeting goes so much smoother.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we split that nicely, and I was comfortable talking a little bit about the numbers and how woefully inadequate our funding is compared to our neighboring municipalities and so on. So, not to say we're playing good cop, bad cop, but.
But we're ready to do that.
Yes. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I think things are going great. I think the staff has been very supportive of during this Omicron time. Scott has had a couple of times where I've heard from him, and there's been, I won't say panic in his voice, but concern that how are we going to keep everything running and the staffing, we really want to take care of them. And they have just come forward and worked through those issues very, very nicely. So let's go ahead and if we can move on. We don't have Garrett here today. Do we have a finance report?
There's really not much to report because this is the phase where the mayor is developing his budget. And so it's kind of a process of getting what he's going to announce on March 6th, which is when he's going to do his budget announcement. That's when he's required to present that to city council.
Okay, and I'll mention one quick thing. I think we are pretty much in track with the current budget. When you
Yeah.
look at it, we're tracking as far as expenditures and
Oh, yeah.
not everything shows because some things are not spent but are
Yeah, we're
committed and so on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we're pretty much on track there. I think we're good. That March 8th, you said?
March
Okay,
6th is
March
when
6th.
the mayor is required to present his budget to city council.
So I'm going to
February
say,
8th is the state of the city.
right, okay.
you
So that
can see
March date should be a real sense of urgency for us. And you got to look at that and say, if they're going to present something on March 8th, that a month before that, or close to it,
Mhm,
they're
mhm.
going to have a pretty good idea of what they
Mhm.
want to do in the mayor's office. Okay, so we've got about 3 weeks here
Yep.
to really make a difference, make an impact on that if we possibly can. So as we turn it over to Chris in a little bit, I'll just mention it. It ties to the finance. That schedule comes out of that. That's a really
Okay.
important one
Right.
for us. Okay. Anything else on facilities? I mean, on finance before we move to Janet?
That's it.
Okay, Janet, facilities, you're the big star, so the master
So-
plan.
So I am an optimist. Some other people on the committee are not so much. So on February 8th, we have another meeting with the architects. I am hopeful that the document they give us will be close to ready for the public. The last version was disappointing. And I want to commend Gail for going through it with a fine tooth comb and
Needs
letting
work.
them know.
Yeah.
Some of it was laughable, like the page where they had the wrong library name. So I think the rendering, that they're going in the right direction on the rendering, which is an image that people can look at and know what we're thinking about for the new building. It's not an exact image. So I think they're pretty good on that. Now, as for all the words, the narrative part, we just have to see if if they're following Gail's instructions to make it a much stronger document. So Gail and Scott and well, Susan's on here might have different ideas about that last meeting. And then we had a follow-up meeting among ourselves just to talk about all the things that needed to be fixed. So what do you guys think? We will know till February 8th.
Right. We have a meeting coming up. Is there an agenda for that? Do we have homework? or is it just gonna be a surprise? Or-
The presentation of that, of what
Of
we
the image.
gave them and kind of finalized, because the last meeting was like, here's really preliminarily where we're at. This is what the document's going to look like. There's more to do. And we went through it, you went through it, and we reviewed it and said, hey, these are all the things you need to fix. So they're gonna come back and present that kind of overall, so pretty much 95% document is what we should see. The 95% document. And then 3 weeks later, they want to have a community meeting where we go back to the community and say, hey, remember last summer when you all met and we talked about all of the things you wanted to see in this space? We identified all of them. They're going to explain the process, the methodology, what they've taken, the challenges that the committee has faced in terms of like, we have this need, but to do that, we're going to have to do this. So that is what that was what will get presented to the community. So the community will understand when they see the picture, how the picture got to where it is and what went into it. And we'll be able to accept feedback, because this isn't the final version of it. This is probably 80% of design. There could be things that radically change when we move to what we would call schematic design, but we explained the whole process to them, what data we looked at, what the review, all of that. And then the next piece will be, so after that community meeting, that'll be the final document that'll get this, or pretty close to the final document that'll get, or it'll be the community document that shows what we've done. Then we want to have another meeting at the 3-board retreat, which will be after that meeting, will be when I'll have the architects come again, and you will have an opportunity to speak to the architect. The architect will be at that community meeting too, and I encourage you to go to that community meeting and then look at it there. And then we'll have another meeting with the 3-board retreat where we can have the Friends and the Foundation and the Library Board of Trustees all ask more in-depth questions, and we can discuss that with the architect and how we're going to move forward. So it's taking a little longer than we would have liked, and it's not gone as pretty as we would have liked. But I think once we get to that 3-board, my hope is once we get to that 3-board retreat, everybody's answers will be, everybody will get their answer. They'll see this new vision for the library. And we'll be able to start the next part of the journey to get there.
A quick question. Janet was saying that you all are meeting with the architects. That meeting is also February 8th.
Yes.
And when do you have a tentative date for the community meeting?
So we're going to have to say, okay, this is 90 to 95% done. We need to fix a couple more things. And then we'll want you to present it after that date. So we'll set the date after that February 8th meeting.
Okay.
And it'll be a minimum of 3 weeks, because we need to give enough time to notify everyone, get it on their calendar. It'll be a meeting that'll be an in-person meeting, but also broadcast on Zoom. So if you can't get down here for the meeting, you'll be able to tune in.
And we're shooting for that by the second week in March, probably. Is looking at it, is
Well,
that reasonable, or is
I'm
you think
hoping by
longer?
the first week,
First week of March.
that last week of February. February is a short month.
It
but
is, right. right.
I want to get that done. It has to be done before the 3-board retreat. That's
Right.
period. And we want to set the 3-board retreat date.
Yeah.
Once we kind of see what
March
the
1st puts us
Omicron
to
is
3.
doing. Yeah.
3 weeks from it.
So if we can do March 1st,
somewhere around there.
do that community meeting and have the final document and everybody sees it and is thrilled about it or disappointed about it, let's deal with that, right? So, and then we'll come back to the 3-board retreat, and have another discussion about it and figure out where we're going to go.
So the 3-board retreat, we'll be looking at the same document that the community sees on March 1st.
Yeah. And gather more input from it. So once a document is done, people will like it, love it, or hate it, or share with it. And then that will be like, the next phase would be if there's dramatic changes that need to be made, we'll definitely listen to those and we'll explain why some of the things that we recommended are going to get done, and hopefully can explain that case that everyone can understand.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's not going to be any dramatic changes because we have worked hard on this.
It has been and we've really had to work through some very challenging issues.
Yes, so there might be tweaking, but there won't be.
Well, we'll explain that if you want to change something, that if something needs to be changed, how much it'll cost or the impact of it.
Mhm.
And so we can explain how we've arrived at where we're at, and I think people will see that path. And if there needs to be a dramatic change, then that's great. It'll just be, these are the other changes that'll impact, right?
Mm.
So it's that whole case of, we're filling up 2 glasses, so we need to take from this one to fill that one. And that's what we dealt with in this committee. So I'm excited. I think people are going to get behind it. I think they're going to see what it is.
Yes, I'm optimistic. How about you, Gail?
Yeah, I think the way the report is now, I guess I'd like to talk to you two at the end.
Okay.
maybe. Still a lot needs to be done. For instance, things like there's a page of staff comments. Can somebody start compiling that? Do you need me to contact staff? Do you want me to do
They're responsible for this, so we need to let them.
I think
Get
they
together.
did get, they collected comments.
They've already collected comments.
But they weren't in the document. It was just blank.
Oh, well, they
Right.
have them.
So, right, they need to
Okay.
put them in. That's their job to put them in.
Okay. And just directories of names and things like that. Do they have all that information? Board names and all that business.
Can I ask a question before the big unveil? Are we going to have community rooms that are accessible when the library is not
Yes.
open? That's fabulous. Good job. Good job.
The architect threw us when she called them 24-hour rooms, because I
Good
immediately
job.
thought, how is Scott going to staff anything for 24 hours? But all she meant was after hours access.
Right. Good job. Good job.
Well, and then the other piece that could be considered is, could those become revenue generating?
Mhm.
That's a possibility too. The way the design of the building, it could. So those are all like details that came up through the process that we've tried to address or cover. That's why I'm kind of excited to get to the end of it and share what we've come up with, to hopefully we've answered every question and tried to get everyone's wishes in. And then we can also explain how we would have liked to do some things, but we just couldn't with the shape of the building, the
Right.
shape of the.
They're trade-offs. yeah.
Yes, it's trade-offs. So we tried to make the best trade-offs we could. And if at this meeting, like there's huge people, then we'll deal with that too, right? So I
I don't
don't think
know.
that's gonna
I
happen.
don't know if we'll deal with that or not.
Well, We'll either deal with it or we won't. So, but we'll do our best to definitely consider what they have to say.
You know, we worked really hard. Think of all those meetings where we said, if you do this, then it messes up that. So which thing should we pick?
We've been working on it a year.
Yeah.
So big round of applause. Good job. Yay.
Okay.
So
Janet,
last thing on
anything else?
facilities,
Oh, yeah.
the stormwater project, you remember the greening of
Mhm.
Richmond Public Libraries, that project is underway. So you'll see work at North Avenue and Broad Rock and
West End.
West
West
End.
End. They've begun work. So the contractor's name Harbor Dock and Dredge, and we're impressed with what they've been able to do so far. In March, there will be days that there'll be an opportunity if you want to come and volunteer and plant things. They're going to have the plants there. So at each location, about every week, there'll be a day that somebody can come and do
For
something. So
fun.
it's an exciting project. It's moving along. And we hope to be done by the beginning of April. So in the spring, you'll be able to, this stuff will take root. So the timing has worked out great. I'm glad we weren't planning in August or September of last year, especially as droughty as it was. So I think that this is going to turn out very well.
So we have a spreadsheet of the dates that they plan to plant for about North Avenue, West End. So I'll give that to Jonna so she can include it in her packet so you can see the dates.
And we'll share that with you in February. So you guys, if you want to come out and move some mulch or plant some trees.
You bet.
Okay, Emily, governance?
I do not have a formal report this month.
Okay, thank you. Then we're just going to jump over and stick with Emily. She is, as y'all know, it shows Scott and myself as unfinished business on the strategic plan, but that's really Emily. She's just done a bang-up job of taking the plan, and it was the draft plan that the library staff and Scott and his team put together was very well done, but there were things about it that we felt it was a little too internal looking, not enough public facing and not enough for marketing type of document. People looking at this and they need to see it as the positives, not just we're trying to accomplish the following, but they need to know how it affects, and they need to see that we really made great progress on a lot of things as we go. So Emily's leading that, and Emily, we're not going to have a draft out now for, well, why don't you just fill us in?
Yep. So we received feedback from Chris, Bill, and Garrett on the first draft. Met with Scott, Susan, and Clay. Bill and I did at the beginning of this month to discuss some revisions, and we got a very promising draft. Still had notes. Chris has taken the lead on this round of revisions and met with Scott and Susan. Was it last week? It was
Monday.
Okay.
Monday.
Yeah.
Big library week. for
Yes.
me.
To discuss additional revisions, and we're going to get a draft probably this week is what Scott said. And once our working group takes a look at that, hopefully we will get a draft out to everybody, and would love for you all to take some time with it. Provide us with any notes you might need, and hopefully, I know that Bill also, we'd all love to vote on this at the next meeting if possible.
And I'm just gonna comment that since advocacy is one of the things we're doing, we want to make sure the strategic plan is a visionary document that explains what we as the library intend to do to make the residents of Richmond better. So I know we're all disappointed it's going to be a little late. It's well worth the time. If we can articulate those goals in a sharp way, our job talking to everyone, it will be a public facing document. It's all going to be much, much easier. So this is in part tied to advocacy. We want a nice, tight story, and that's the charge of the board. Make sure that the goals we're hitting are goals that you think are the right goals, and they're explained in a sharp, why do we care, city of Richmond? Instead of here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at the beginning of the story. And then because of why we need to do things, this is what we're going to do.
So I think one of the big differences that you'll see from this version to the previous version of the strategic plan is that a lot of the tasks, the things that are more internal facing, are going to be moved into a separate document.
That's
And-
brilliant. I
Well, I think
agree
this
with
was
you.
your idea.
I-
You hadn't even.
Okay, well, I don't actually think it was. I think Scott and his team
Mhm.
did that, but that is brilliant. That's exactly what should be done.
Hopefully we'll have that to you all in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Emily and Chris have really worked hard on that, and Scott's team.
Well, actually, Scott is.
Yeah.
Scott and Susan have just been killing themselves on it, but I'll just echo that when you get it, sometimes we get so many different things, and some of it just seems to be boilerplate and stuff. This is one that I really ask you, when you get it, to look at it. If you see things about it that you have questions about, or you want to make changes, anything like that, write to Emily. You can't write to all of us.
Mhm.
We get
That's a
into
good
trouble
point.
with the public meeting side. I'd like to say you can send to multiple people, but you can't. So send to Emily, and she'll look at it. She'll talk to the rest of the committee that she's leading there on that, and we'll try to incorporate those in and be ready, because we do want to have something. We need it for two reasons. One, we're supposed to have it done by then, and we need to get it done. But it's also, Chris talks about advocacy. By the time we get to our February meeting, we want to have that at least out there
Mhm.
pretty quickly after that. So we won't have it necessarily used in our meetings with anyone, but we want to have it shortly after if possible. Okay, so that people can go back and look at it if you're a councilman who does, and so on. Okay, Chris, we're going to move right along to you leading us on advocacy.
Okay. Tell me when you can't hear me, because masks make it hard for
Yeah.
everybody, and especially me. I'm going to go over three things. I'm going to talk about the brainstorming. I'm going to go through rules of engagement with Jonna. Thank you very much, has explained to me, and I didn't understand, and I am very, very grateful. Then we're going to go through each council person. And if you're identified as the lead for that council person, can you just handle that conversation? And that conversation should include what we know collectively about that council person and any initial thoughts on what moving forward looks like. So I talked for the first two, we as a team go through item number 3, okay? Good?
Yes.
Okay, brainstorming. I've lived here the least, so I knew everybody knew stuff that I didn't know. I loved our brainstorming session because I thought we really came together as a team. People articulated ideas in such a clear, crisp way. I came away so much richer for the whole thing. So I thank you all. We had an initial discussion that community engagement, early childhood literacy, training, employment resources were really important things that the library does. We acknowledged that it was all generations, that it was free, it was community, it was democracy, it was in the neighborhood, it was technology. We got all of those on the table. Safe and trust, not to ever be underestimated, key elements. So I thought we were really warming up to a proactive engagement on why the library is an important bridge to everyone in the community. When we talked about how we now translate that information to our council people, we knew we'd need to have individual meetings. We knew that we would want to attend the council people's public meetings. We knew that we'd need some tools. We didn't need some data. Janet had suggested videos. Scott's found some great ones. One of the things that I'll ask Scott, if you will let the whole board see the 2 that you've identified, or if there's others you've identified. I didn't envision when Janet suggested it, what it would be. I am so delighted with those. I think we all need to see them and we'll all be equally delighted. And that's about it. That's a summary of brainstorming. Anyone want to make any comments on the experience? I'm ready to move on. If not,
That was very positive and gave us a good base to work from.
okay. Let's do rules. First, this is a public meeting. Everything we say is public. If we want to talk to each other, you know, I have a councilman that's kind of like your councilman, let's you and I chit chat about what we should do, just from a brainstorming strategy step. We should do that by phone. That should not be, and I encourage that. One of the things I walked away with the brainstorming was how happy I am that I'm on this team with these smart people. So Jonna, if you have everyone's phone number and can send it out, that would be great. If not, we'll figure out another way to do that. The second issue was a major surprise.
One quick comment on that. Just because Laura's out with COVID exposure or COVID sickness. I can't remember if I think she has a mild case of it. She would like me to point out, I'm sure here, that when you do those phone calls, it's 2 of you at a time.
Just 2 of you, right?
Don't add a third one in
Right.
there, or we turn into a public
Right.
meeting.
Right.
So
right,
even if you got to share it, 2 people talk and then one of those talks to the third, and you just have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Just always remember Noah. 2, we are in 2s.
Yeah.
So like 2 doesn't make a meeting. Once you add a third person, it's a
It's a
meeting.
meeting.
And you get into trouble with that if we have a committee meeting. So when we had that meeting
Yeah.
on the strategic plan, we could have had 3 people there, so we had the public notice it. And then we usually have to follow up and let people know in my
Of
report
course,
that
of
a
course.
meeting occurred.
Yeah.
And it was a committee meeting and the work session was focused on that. But when we get more than 2, then we've got a meeting. So if, and the same rule goes for city council. So
Right,
city
we're gonna
council
get to
can't
that.
meet with you in
Yeah,
groups of
we're gonna
3.
get to that.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
But the one thing I'll say is I like this emerging teamwork. I'm not scared of having public meetings.
Right.
If it turns out that 3 or 4 of us need to get together, we're having a public meeting and we're getting together and we're wrestling with
Right.
the issue as a team.
Yeah. If you
So
do that, we just need to let John know.
we just
She'll
need to
post it.
follow the rules.
It's just for that
Follow
purpose.
the
Yeah.
rules.
That's all.
So one-on-one, we should be working with each other. If it's more than that, we should announce that it's a public meeting. We should just need to be aware of this, which was kind of news to me. So I'm passing it on in case it's news to anyone else. The second thing is a little bit more critical because the first will work perfectly. When we deal with a council person, no more than 2 of us can talk to one council person. Now, this rained on my parade, tell you the truth, because in fundraising and advocacy, the more people you bring to a meeting, the more important the person who's sitting across the room thinks that meeting is. So if we show up with 4 council members, that's they're going to pay more attention than if I just went. But we've got to do it right and we've got to follow the rules. And the rule is 4 of us can't go to a meeting with a council person. 3 cannot go. The max number is 2.
With the caveat there that's board members.
Board members. And Bill, Bill always sees where I'm going.
Sorry.
Bill always sees where I'm going. So just because the limit is council members, if we have family members or friends or community groups that wish to join us, that can be done. So that's one of the things we want to ponder in our strategy, because a one-on-one is nice, maybe a good first start, but a 5-on-1 is really yowza. So the rules of the game, there's some of these council people that we have 4 people on the board that are interested. We have to pick and choose for each meeting. And the primary person identified for that council person makes that call. Okay. I'm usually a bad explainer. Am
Nice and clear.
is everyone with me on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me just, Jonna, we're okay if, say, Chris and Barbara and Scott go meet with someone.
Oh, yeah.
Because Scott's not a board member.
Right.
Yeah, you can
Right.
always take library staff.
So, right, any staff, if you
It's
need to
just
bring
board
your
members.
local librarian, for example, your branch librarian to a meeting with that,
okay.
you can do that. So friends, family, library, it just can't be 3 of us
Yep.
who are, voting board members.
Okay.
You can go in 2s, just like no.
Right.
Okay. And again, I want to thank Jonna. She sorted the whole thing out, and I would have put us down the wrong path were it not her. So thank you. Okay. Ready to go on to what and I'm going to repeat Bill's time frame. 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks. So let's start with District 1. And what you'll see is I've written the councilman. I've written the liaison. For each of the liaisons, I did an initial email as a library board of trustees member saying, if you have a calendar, if you have public meetings set up, let me know in advance, because I'm going to be talking, we, the board of trustees, want to get more engaged. I didn't mention any individual name. So the next thing you will see is either from the councilman or the liaison, their comment in return, generally positive, sometimes Janet enthusiastic. Okay, Bill, I'm going to have it start with you. Tell
Okay.
me what you know about Addison. Tell me what you're thinking about doing.
Okay, well, I mean, Addison lives and he's the rep for the first district. So Weston Library branch is his.
Yay!
Hey there, Garrett. So West End is his, local library. He is a former librarian himself. He comes from a history
Oh,
of
I
that.
didn't know that.
So he has been supportive of the library. When we opened the renovation, he came out, chatted about things a bit. He was very positive. He is a political animal, as any councilman.
You bet, they all are.
So I think he needs to be educated a little bit on our issues so that he can make good decisions on those. And I think he'll be fine to work with. I've seen him periodically at things. I think the last time I ran into him was actually at the polls at the last election. So, and we chatted a little bit there. So, I'm comfortable talking to him. I think he has a good picture of the district and also a good picture of the whole city.
Okay,
So I think he'll be very open to understanding why we need different things, and
Okay.
he'll understand the hours down at Bald Rock are important, for example, as well as West End. I mean,
Right.
he's pretty thorough on those kind of things.
Okay.
So I think the pitch that we give to him is going to be one that we give to a lot of the council members. I don't think
Oh,
there's
I-
anything,
yeah,
about him that we have to tailor it just to
So,
the district.
my son lives in District 1 and
Okay.
he has 3-year-olds.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you need an additional face with a little blonde and a little redhead in it, or just another voice,
Okay.
he would be very happy
I may
to
take you
be,
up on that.
not to say anything, but to be a support to you.
Sure.
So you're gonna try
Oh,
for,
yeah, I'll contact him, set up a meeting. I'm thinking this fits in the two ways that Christine has already mentioned. One is a meeting directly with him. I'll set that up and then see who can go along, keep it within our limits and so on, and make it effective. And that's one with Addison. He does not currently have a
no,
liaison, right?
he was the only one without
Right,
a
he doesn't currently have a
liaison.
liaison, so I'll schedule that with him, meet with him. I do think he runs regular district meetings. He's been doing some of them virtually recently,
Right.
but I want to get on that schedule. We've done that in the past.
Right,
So I think both of those meetings need to be set up.
right,
And we'll do that. The district meetings, I will say they're really good to do. A lot of them, you're not going to get on the schedules before the budget period.
Right.
So the in-person meeting is the one that with the councilman is the one
Right.
that's really important. to get
okay,
done.
yeah, that's
Okay.
a good piece of information.
Yeah.
Okay, Gail, a person who knows, so many of you know much more about this than I do. Gail's one of them. What do you think about Catherine Jordan?
Yes, I worked on Catherine's campaign, so we know each other pretty well, which is a good start. And Chris and I have talked about, I thought I'd have Catherine and Chris to lunch one day that we can, in the next, so we need a date,
Right.
talk about a date. And now that our kids are in school, we'll be able to chat a little bit and
Okay.
talk about, the second district doesn't have a library, doesn't have a branch within its boundaries. So the master plan is also going to be really important for Catherine, since it's on her border, to talk about that and get her on our side. I couldn't convince her to get some money for us from the federal funds. I think council decided that it was all going to go to.
But she was the only one who stood up for us at the meeting.
But
So,
she's library supportive.
Right.
She understands that. So that's my strategy is that,
well,
In person.
the question I have to you is
Yes.
Sven in his email back said they want to know what the priorities are for the fan. So you tend to be very good with coming up with documentation
Okay.
for that. Do you think we should formally say one of the, in response to your request for call for priorities?
Right.
Here's one and put it in as an official or not?
Yeah, we're not ready with the document yet to do that, but I wonder if I could come up with a summary, give her Anyway, let's talk about,
Okay, okay.
because
I would, I think we have to respond formally.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Anything I want to give her is polished,
yeah.
so,
And we do both, the informal relationship and the,
right.
and I can get, and you can get a million fan people
Right.
to sign on to it.
Right.
When
Okay,
you put those priorities together, that's probably something that should
that's,
be.
we got that in the strategic plan that we're gonna see shortly, so that is
Well,
gonna be.
I'm thinking though, if people are trying to meet in the next week,
Yeah.
we may want to get something that says, here, I mean, I think we all know those.
We know what they are.
Are we
yeah,
all comfortable? Let me ask that. Are we all comfortable? I mean, I didn't say anything we talked about the first, because I know what I want to say to it.
Yeah,
As far as where we are budget wise, what needs to be done, what we're trying to do as far as programs and hours and some of these
Mhm.
things. Is everyone comfortable about that?
I would like some sentences
Okay.
so I can stay
Script.
focused.
Yeah.
I think it makes it
Some bullet
easier.
points.
Yeah.
Bullets.
If
That's-
you have some
yeah, I
I think we
bullets.
need a cheat sheet that
Yeah.
okay.
lets us.
Yeah.
So Scott, what do you think? Do you think it's the 5 goals or do you think it's something
It's what
different?
we've been talking about with the three, with the
Are you
strategic
comfortable?
plan.
I mean, you're the head of the
So
library. They gotta be the
you-
5 things you think are most important.
Well, it's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's the shared vision and the shared
Right,
goals. And
right.
we've identified those, and what we're doing is synthesizing the strategic plan to the point where we can advocate.
Okay,
And so number one is access, right?
right,
So
absolutely.
access is it. And we do that through more public service hours. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's the big one. If you want to go with just one, that's what we need is access. Because right now we don't have any libraries open after 6 o'clock.
And the write-up will be better once Scott and Susan are done with it, but the story is this. People work, right? They're not finished with work until 6. People who live in Richmond don't have computers and Wi-Fi. There's only one place they can go to. And sometimes they can't get there before 6 o'clock at night. So by having shorter hours, we are failing our residents. But not only are we failing our residents, we are a second-rate system because Henrico's open till 9, Hanover's open till 9, Chesterfield is open till 9.
Yeah.
And while rich people can drive to Henrico, not everybody can. We do not want to underserve the people that live in our city. And we do not want to be part of a second-class library system. And that's all access.
And that's a great way to put it, that second class. Don't our citizens deserve a library that's similar to what the surrounding? I mean, we have a mix of population, and they can say, well, they don't. That's more reason to have that quality
So
library.
we think that's the driver. We'll defer to you guys, but we think that's the driver. A secondary cause that we think plays really well, and I think Sharon's gonna like this, is children in reading. No one is a leader like the library is for 0 to 5-year-olds. We are the place for early literacy. There is no other institution that does that. And every study you read tells you early reading sets you up academically and for the rest of your gosh darn life. So that is enormously important. That's our leadership role. Now, children in general are important. We become more supportive to the school system once they enter the school. We don't stop. And we will continue to support. You know, we broaden the different kinds of things we do, but
And even when you talk about the schools, I'll mention one real quick thing as it ties to access. The schools are open about 170, 180 days a year. Okay, I mean, it's supposed to be 180, whatever, but without everything else, call it 100, under half of the days every year, schools are open. We're trying to be
actually,
open.
that's a really good point.
all
Yeah,
the time.
That's a really good point.
Okay,
So accessibility in children, we think are real drivers as far as persuasion. Garrett, what do you think? Does that resonate with you? Do you think we're missing something?
No, I agree with both of these points. I think absolutely access is critically important. And I think, honing in on the access to hours is a really good talking point. I was literally was talking a little bit earlier today, yesterday with Ellen Robinson. Because we're going to have a conversation this weekend about kind of, this whole topic. And, I talked to her, I was like, we are not aligned with our, surrounding county partners.
Right.
Related to access. For Ellen, she talks a lot about, creation of the Office of Community Wealth Building, which obviously was in place when Mayor Jones was in place. And obviously we're still utilizing that to this day. We talk about poverty initiatives. These are in some way the small things that we can do to really begin to change that within our city. Those are some of the talking points that I like to kind of drive on.
And those are good. Yeah, that I like it. And we're in the business of changing people's lives. That's what we do. So those are the two we think are good, compelling talking points. We define them in writing in the strategic plan, but we have a few others that may appeal to you and the council person you're talking to. One is lifelong learning, that whether it is needing information on how to use a computer or finance, or, this is the place for lifelong learning. The other, which has a fabulous rubric called Uniquely Richmond, is about being the place where groups can come together to discuss the problems of Richmond. Because one, we have free meeting space. And two, it is again validated that the minute you walk in the library, you have more civil behavior. So that if you're dealing with tricky problems, where do you want to try and resolve those issues to make Richmond better? The library. You also can use that for historic resources, for, special initiatives. So we'll have that.
But it's also telling the Richmond story,
Yeah.
telling the complete story, or as much of the story, preserving, telling the story,
Right.
resonating
Right.
our story in
Right.
such a way that we all know it.
Yeah.
And we can move forward. So it's
Yeah.
uniquely Richmond and hopeful.
So the strategic plan, the reason Emily and Bill and I and Garrett are making Scott redo it is because we want those arguments crisply stated. Because that drives where we go over the next 5 years. We're enormously important. Let's set our goalposts high. And let's.
So I think has Chris given y'all what you feel like you can sit down with council member with those four and really the first two more than anything and talk about it. The one thing, if you do, I hope everyone does, because I feel good with that, is the money.
Right.
And you've got to make a request, because you're going to get immediate, they're supporting. Councilmen
Okay.
love it.
Bill, you're right. Can you or Scott send everyone the 4-sentence, 2-sentence, 3-sentence money statement? I know you've done it before.
Yeah.
I know I have it somewhere, and maybe we tie it together. Here's the money request. Here are the reasons. Does that, Brent, what do you think? Would that be?
Very helpful.
Okay.
Because we need their support. We need them to see what we're doing, but we need them to actually say, yes, we think you deserve 20% more money than you're getting, or 30% more, whatever the
And it's
number is.
that target. And we
is.
see every year, the department comes in with a target. So we're just telling them what our target is.
Right.
What we need to provide those more hours, early literacy for children, so we can help move the needle on only 35% of children in the city of Richmond in grades 3 through 8 are reading on grade. Only 10% are on math in 3 through 8. So I think birth to 5 is a place where we can help get children ready for school. And then we're absolutely supportive of Richmond Public Schools in 5 through 18. So those, I think, are persuasive numbers, and those aren't facts. They're facts that I'm not proud of, but they're things that we are definitely ready to roll up our sleeves and help with.
And I'll mention, and I'm a big supporter of public schools. I mean, I think they have an enormous job to deal with. But so we're not trying to conflict with them in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
But it is important to also realize that the schools shut down in June and open up in August. And that 2.5 month window there that's why there's such a push for year-round schooling and stuff. It's a drop. It's when kids, they stop doing the things, and the beginning of the school year, that, after Labor Day, first month, is catching back up. And the kids who catch back up fastest or don't need catch up are the ones who are going to the library in the summer and they're reading, they're participating in those programs. So we're not saying, I mean, it's natural. If you don't do something for 3 months, it drops away. We help them stay with that. So I think, it's collaborative without, it's not even saying the city schools aren't doing the job in the summer, because they're not with the students in the summer. We're the ones that are with them in the summer. So, okay.
I think just one thing to add to Bill's point, I think to even compound that is, a lot of stats have shown that since we've been in the pandemic, the even more significant, gap that students have within achievement right now within which public schools. So I think it even drives home that message even more as to why we need to have additional more access to within our public library systems. And I thought about this a little bit over the weekend, even thinking about, talking to different city council representatives. And I know, for example, with Reva, her big thing right now, and it's a big thing within all the city is crime. And particularly how crime in the city is being, significantly more correlated with the youth than it has been in more recent years. And I think that's even another topic in its time to say there, listen, if we have more resources, if we have more access to other outlets for the children within the city of Richmond, these are going to be the advantages and how it may turn into positives for us and get away from some of those issues that we're experiencing, citywide.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because I think this is an important element of our discussion, but is our goal to say $8 million? What is the number that we need to share?
We need to give the number.
I think 8 million is the number we're asking
8
for.
million, okay.
And we're sitting at about 5.2.
5.2.
Okay, because you said at 1.20%. Is that a 20% increase?
No, it's actually, well, let's see. So that's 2.8 million. It's what, 40% off the current, but it's about 30% off where we were in 2019.
Okay.
So I mean, and I think we need to go back to that. We need to go to we were underfunded when the pandemic hit. And we need to not just get back to that funding level because it wasn't enough. We need to go from that level, which was over 6, up to 8, to get the hours open. We didn't have the hours we needed then. The access wasn't good enough in 2019.
Right.
Okay. So we're doing that. And Gail, you are the pro on this. I mean,
I'm not
you
a pro
showed
on
me how to
numbers.
do.
I'm the worst person on numbers, unfortunately.
Well,
so I need something.
But we'll
clear.
get the numbers. But as far as that asking for the money, I mean, you
Yeah.
recognize
Yeah, we
that
were successful.
we've got to go directly to it. And if you don't, when the mayor comes in, maybe the mayor comes in and offers budgets this at 5.5, say, and they might do that and say, hey, this is a bump up. You're up 300,000 from what you were in the current year. Okay. That's not nearly enough. If we don't tell the council members what we need, they're going to say, oh, the library got a 5% increase.
Right.
Okay. They need to see that 8 million is important. And they need to recognize that we're not even trying to tread water when we talk about 6 million. That's not enough. Okay. That when you just take from where we were and you take away 7% and then you add another 7 or 8%, we've got a 15% gap just because of the increases in cost and the decrease in revenue to get back to where we were substandard. So, this has got to be we need 8 million to get to be an adequate library for the city. And I don't know whether y'all are comfortable with it. I think adequate's a word that can be used. Yeah. I like Chris referred to substandard. I think there are lots of these things that, they sound a little bit harsh sometimes. And Scott can't say them, without offending possibly, but we can. Okay, we can be advocates in a stronger way than anyone who works in the system can. And you know, there's just lots of different things. Depending on your council person, I'd also mention, you know, there's a lot of concern about the underserved members of the community. And I think you can tie these same goals or these same points to those. I think, you know, we've heard the equity, the diversity issue in the library staffing. One of the problems we have, very bluntly, with that is that of our best newer hires, a lot of them people of color, are leaving to go to better funded positions in localities near us. So we get in a great, bright young librarian from, you know, Union or wherever maybe, and he or she in 2 years has learned a lot here and has gotten frustrated that she can't do or he can't do the programs that they want to do, that their funds, you know, they're not getting as much money, and they go elsewhere. So we've got that problem. So, you know, these are the things, and you've got to look at the pet goals maybe of each of your council members. But some of them, I mean, we've heard from some that we don't have enough diversity in library staff. It's not because the HR department of the city is less competent. It's not that Scott and his team aren't looking for people. It's money and keeping them.
Turnover.
It is turnover, and you can't get somebody up to being, you know, at the top 3 or 4 people in the library if they keep leaving after 3 years. You know, you just don't get that. So that's another one of those issues.
So I have a request.
Yeah.
Because all of these things you're saying are really getting me riled up about the disparities between our library systems. Do you have a sheet, Scott, or somebody with just the basic numbers, how much Chesterfield, Henrico,
Yes.
their total library budget,
So-
their
so
hours?
Henrico's, this is simple.
If you
Henrico's-
write it down for me, then I can carry that passion
We'll put that in there.
to my
You have to
meeting.
be careful with that though, a little bit, because that'll cut both ways. And-
I don't
Link
wanna-
did this to me the
I
other day
don't
on the
wanna
phone call.
Yeah.
I don't want to recite
No, no,
it to
the-
them. I just want to
You need to be
feel.
aware of it.
I
You need
wanna
to know
feel
it.
the
You can talk about
pain.
it, but be ready. For example, Link Saunders asked me when I talked about Henrico, said, so what's Norfolk do? Well, are we supposed to be judging ourselves against Norfolk or against
We
other
need to think
Richmond
about our
area?
neighbors, just our
Right.
neighbors.
But he brought it out because Norfolk has bigger budget issues and less
Well,
money
that's a
going. there.
tactic to knock you off your.
Right, it was very, definitely.
Yeah.
Just to give you a quick number that sticks in my mind is that we spend about $2 per resident per month to run our library. That we're talking operations, not building, you know, not capital, but about $2 a month per resident. To go to the 8 million takes us up by less than $1 a month per resident.
See, that's what I
Okay?
need
This is
that.
not, we're not talking about giant sums of money when you
Right.
really
Well, let's
think.
put that all together for all of us.
Yes.
It's a
Okay.
good point.
Yes.
Okay, Barbara,
Okay.
talk to me about Anne Frances Lambert. I don't even know who she is.
Well, I don't know her per se, but I worked for her father when her father.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now tonight, she is doing her meeting is tonight at 6:30 and she's doing it virtually. Because I had not been, now she does do a great job with the newsletter that she sends out.
Yeah.
But I haven't had face to face. I have been in touch with some other issues with her liaison, and he is really good about getting information back. And so I said I was going to start with tonight, but I think that, you know, in listening to where we are, and I think I missed a step because I thought we were also going to do the step where we were going to go to
We
the
should,
librarian.
we should talk to each of the
Okay, all right.
librarians. Yeah,
So I guess I'm thinking about the
we're
order.
going
of
to do
things.
everything all at the same time.
Okay, okay, all right. So I guess in terms of for me, so we need to try, for me, I need to then try to get together with the 2 librarians that are in my area.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also
Yeah.
taking that information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it'd be good to give them the heads up. I don't-
Right.
Is Clay here? Clay. I don't know, were you here for the brainstorming
Mhm.
last meeting?
Yeah.
would you be kind enough to give the managers the heads up as to what's going on and that it's likely they'll be hearing from, and we don't want this to be onerous for them. We want this to be coordinated.
And I think too, if they understand that we're coming to them because we, like in my case, I want to be better prepared when I go to my council person. Because when I submitted the information, when we were trying to deal with the COVID money, they told me that in the 3rd district, I was the only person who had said anything about a need to deal with the library. So, when I talked to the liaison, that was his response. And I was like, I found that hard to believe, but then I thought about it. I didn't find it hard to believe in the midst of COVID that people in the community had looked in a different space for where they thought money ought to go. But I am more than willing to do that, and I will make certain that I get it done within this window of time. One of the things I know when we did this the last time, well, when I was dealing with the liaison, I was able to do it very comfortably because we had having the cheat sheet, but knowing specifically what was the amount of money that our last budget was deficit in. I didn't have to waver, as Janet was questioning. It gives you that kind of confidence that you need to be able to talk about money with people who know that we need them to support the money need. So,
So the one thing we've heard from all of us, we need a cheat sheet.
We do.
Yeah, that has money.
And I'll
things.
mention one other thing on money. I'd say the $24 a year, that's less than half of what Henrico spends. Okay, so
Per person.
per person,
Mhm.
yeah, they're spending what, almost 60 a person in Henrico?
It's close to that. I know that their budget is
It's-
about $22 million. And our budget is about 5.5.
Now they're bigger.
Now that, well, not much.
Population.
Little
Their
population.
population is maybe 25% more than the city of Richmond. But their budget is pretty much 4 times our budget.
And as Janet said, this is just stuff we want to know.
Yeah.
We want to focus on how the library serves our residents.
Yes.
right.
Right,
But it helps us to know all
right.
these
You need to
numbers.
have that in the back of your mind because it gives you some context and perspective of where we're at compared and who we're getting compared to.
Right.
And so I think when you bring that, we need to compare ourselves to our neighbors.
Our
Yeah,
neighbors.
that is a strict comparison. When you throw us with Norfolk, that's a demographic comparison, but it's also disconnected from where we're at.
Mhm.
And it's also disconnected from where we want to move as a library system. I
Right.
mean, you all want to have the best library system we can.
Yep.
And what they do in Norfolk's awesome, but we want what's best for Richmond. And this is what we have determined as a board, and you reflect the community that we serve. So keep that in your mind, right? And if you want to compare, if you want to talk about Chesterfield, their budget's about 12 million, somewhere between 10 and 12. It's hard to tell because I think Chesterfield, when they put their budget out, it's a little bit, I'm having a little bit harder comparing apples to apples with it, but I can tell you that this week they just changed their hours
Yeah.
from 9 to 8, Monday through Thursday, and they're open 9 to 5 on Friday and Saturday. So they now they've moved, even during the pandemic, to expand their hours. We can't do that. We just can't do that right now with the budget, with the resources we have. And we've been under-resourced for decades.
Yeah,
You can go
okay, so
back-
we're gonna stop there because we gotta get through
Right.
everyone, and I
Sorry.
show that it's 1:10 already.
Yeah.
I apologize, but
Okay,
I want
Okay,
Janet
yep,
to
let's run
talk.
through
now. Are you finished,
I am,
Barbara?
I
Yeah,
am.
Janet, over to you.
Well, I've talked to Kristen Larson on park issues and traffic issues, and she seems, well, she's approachable and
Okay,
open-minded. She has a virtual meeting tonight, which I will watch and think about the issues that come up during that meeting. And then I'll try to set up a personal meeting with her or with Aaron. Once you guys get me all these great
mm-hmm,
factoids that are gonna
yeah,
give me the confidence to tell them what we need.
you'll do great.
You will.
The
And you said
other
with Kristen
thing,
or
they
with-
were the first ones who said, we'd like to have a library person as a presenter.
Yeah.
So, and they won't be the last, but they were the first to say at our public meetings, we would love to have someone talk about the Well, they didn't say we would love to have someone talk. but-
Quick comment on that, Janet, it's great if you can't get Kristen to meet with Aaron because of the time frame, the shortness you're trying to do it. But honestly, if you can get with her directly, it is much more effective because
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
There are
Right.
two opportunities.
I just meant. to
Right, no,
go-
I'm just saying,
Go
just,
through Aaron to
yeah,
set
just,
it up.
right, but really try to get to because things get watered down.
Yeah,
Right,
Okay, Emily?
Yes, so I met with Amy and Stephanie Lynch last year. I know Stephanie Lynch is a social worker. One of the things she cares a lot about is the history and demographics of the 5th district specifically. So the 5th is, represents both
Yeah,
sides of the
you're gonna
river.
be very targeted.
And,
Yeah,
and it has many historically Black neighborhoods as well as predominantly white areas. My library is actually just outside the 5th. So the Belmont branch is, I think the 5th actually does not have any libraries in the district proper. But the 5th, the Belmont branch is just outside and the Hull Street branch is just
okay,
outside,
okay,
as well as Main Library, I believe.
okay.
So I think for me, it's going to be really important to speak with someone at Hull Street so that I can come with those stories as well. And if I can find a buddy to meet, then that would probably strengthen any case we try to make with.
And Bill
them.
and I, let me speak for you, Bill.
Sure.
We're always willing to be,
Right.
to be your buddy.
Yeah.
Who at Hull should she talk to?
But we don't have a manager right there right now, so you can work with Clay or Heather Montgomery is helping out, is covering Wall Street. But one of us can pick up with that. I also live in the 5th, so.
Oh, I always thought you lived in third. Did you? Fifth?
I'm in Stephanie Lynch's district, so,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. Anything else? I don't want to cut you off.
That's an interesting point, though. Do we know staff distribution by district?
I think Clay is in, you're in Addison's district.
First,
And I
anybody in second?
don't know that, we don't have many staff, we have a few staff who live in the city, but a majority of our staff live outside the city.
The branch manager should never be required, but they should always know about this. And if they wish to join in, they're very, very welcome.
And our branch
Yeah.
managers are very active.
They're
in their
very,
community.
very, but it's not a, yeah,
Yeah.
no pressure. Okay, Garrett. Alan Robertson.
Yeah.
Now, she's super important, right?
Yeah.
She's super important because of yes, okay, talk to us.
Yeah, so Ellen and I actually want to meet this Saturday, weather permitting, as long as she don't have a snow situation. We're scheduled to meet at 10:30 at Silver Diner. So for multiple issues, but particularly talk about the library. So, one of my goals is to really, level set with her
Okay,
and really make sure she understands. So I think, recent conversations that I've been having with her has been more so centered around Georgia High School and getting a better understanding of that. But I think, if she has the data, and I think a lot of what we talked about today has been great, then I think she will get on
Okay.
board. I really
Yeah.
feel confident in that.
okay. So can we get Garrett data by Friday, Scott?
We'll-
There's not a
Bill
wrong
and I will
answer,
work on
Yeah,
the-
just,
we-
We'll work on the talking points, like what we just talked about.
okay,
it may not be fancy, but
Oh, it's fine.
The
numbers.
access and the literacy are the key things we've been working
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
We'll get together and see if we can we'll
do
put that
the
together.
numbers and that would be, okay.
Yep.
Then to Gail, Janet, and Garrett, we have to begin to introduce the big renovation with Maine. So I don't know if we wrap it all together, if they're two separate issues. What are your intuitions on that?
Let's get through budget
yeah,
first.
Get the
Yeah.
budget
And
first,
then-
Yeah,
okay.
get the money.
Don't.
Yeah, no.
we don't want to mix
Pile
capital
on.
and operating right now.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Okay,
really don't. And
okay, I got
if it
you.
comes up as that they may be aware, this has gone out on bid, I mean, all this stuff
Yeah.
to get to this point, just say, we're really looking forward to introducing it and
Okay,
hearing, the whole board hasn't even heard it.
okay,
So,
I do
Okay.
think, though, it's important to get Ellen involved, maybe
Yeah.
even as a signatory to the proposal, since it's in her district. And so maybe
But-
just a heads up about it.
let's, we don't want to shock them with, we need
Yeah.
X millions for that as well. Let's
Yeah.
start with
Right.
Let's get our operating budget for this year if we can.
Sharon,
I have not met with Cynthia Newbill yet.
Yeah.
She was very busy with the MLK events, but they were not appropriate for
Mhm.
meeting. They were activities, so I intend to be on a virtual meeting
okay,
on the 31st.
okay, okay. I'm happy to have you be the thought leader on this. You just wave it to me if you need help or you want another body
Okay.
there. But. Okay, Brent,
Okay, I have not contacted Riva, but I will. And my knowledge of Riva is for, oh shoot, the last several years, every year, our church, and we're in the second district, we donate 50 boxes of Christmas gifts to the people in her district. She actually gives us the names and all the information about these people and what's on their Christmas wish list, and we go out shopping for them, and we wrap the gifts and we deliver them for Christmas. So we've got, our church has a great relationship with Riva. I'll probably get my wife to go with me
excellent.
because she's in charge of outreach at our church. I may get another member that she knows at our church to go with me.
That is super good thinking.
Right, and my wife is very much into adult literacy. She's big time into the Read Center,
Okay.
and she's got a lot of students that did not have the benefit of learning how to read. And a lot of our students are,
Right.
50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80 years old. So, she's a big proponent of, actually, she teaches a lot of her students at libraries, unfortunately, she doesn't do it in the city. She does it in Rico because it's more convenient for her students.
Because it's open later.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And she's, during COVID, she's been doing it. You would never think you could teach somebody how to read over the phone, but she's been, and one of our students does not have a driver's license. He's trying to get his driver's license because he didn't know how to read.
Oh, gee.
So he can take the
Yeah.
test. So,
That is a great, that's a good one.
yeah.
And then be kind of ready for what the intel we got when we were sharing that crime and youth is a hot button for
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
And that the library is a safe place kids can go
Right.
and improve themselves.
Yes.
So we're not policemen, but I think we're better. Yeah.
But Riva is just my knowledge of her, she's a tremendous advocate for her.
Okay.
Constituents. I mean, she's an amazing person. She knows her people. She does it well.
Yep.
So Sharon, once I know when she can meet, I will let you know.
Okay.
Do you have any restrictions over the next few
No.
weeks? Okay.
None.
So I think between Sharon, myself, and then I'll invite a couple of outside people, then we'll be good.
All right. Let's bring it home with Garrett and Michael Jones. You got two. You're.
Not spoken to Mike yet, but Mike and I, we go way back to help him out on his first campaign for city council. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I will reach out to him this weekend for sure.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed. You guys are willing. That's the first step. You're smart thinking, asking for all the right information. We just need to get you the right tools. Bill's given the time frame, next 3 weeks. This is just the beginning. It's never one meeting. It's never a meeting. But I would say concentrate on building the relationship. You can tell them more information in the future. What you want is a good connection. That's an informed one. That's one where you're ready to say what has to be said, but you don't have to win. You just need to establish a relationship that you can come back to them as we get more and more fuel to get their help. Anything else at this juncture that you think we should be doing? I put a lot on your table. On your plate, not your table, but it is kind of a table, so. Okay, Bill and I are absolutely here for you to either join in, to tell us what you need. If you get a question that's hard. But now we start the action part, my favorite. Bill, you okay with all that?
Yeah, I think Chris has got a great plan there.
I think
And
it's our plan, but
yeah, but she's put it together well for us. When you get the information, Scott, or John will actually be sending it out. Scott and I put together on that. Don't hesitate to contact Scott, Chris, me, whoever, if you have questions about it. And don't feel that everything in there has to be covered.
No.
As Chris said, you want to get the relationship built first, and then you want to sort of work those things in there. But you know, you get talking to somebody and they go off, they're excited about something, follow it, you know, and build on those things. You don't have to get off 5 points and the dollars covered in that meeting. Okay? Any questions? Are we ready to ask for a motion to adjourn?
I just had a question about this last page. Are these meetings set up or going to be set up? or-
there, so that's excellent.
these are-
Thank you. Would you like the library to set up meetings for you and the branch managers, or would you like to just do that independently as time permits? You guys tell me what works for you.
I'd like to do it independent.
Okay,
I'll do it.
okay.
I'll do the same.
And I guess the other
That's-
piece of it
yeah,
is in,
flexible.
we can
Yeah, we
either,
just want to make sure Clay gives everyone the heads up that
Right.
they'll be hearing from the board. Yeah.
now, do we need to then, once Clay has done it, do we need to touch base with Clay or need to touch base with Scott, or do you all care if you're independently out there meeting with the librarians, with managers?
No, keep us in the loop. Let us know, like, if you're gonna set it up, let us know, and Clay's gonna give them all a heads up that
Right,
we're doing this.
okay,
And so they need to be prepared to join a Zoom call or go to an in-person
okay,
meeting. They're prepared to do that. They were used to doing it. They've done it in the
Yeah.
past. And they'll be happy to accompany you and serve as the face for your district.
yeah.
So Clay will let them know, just let's all coordinate, but you all take a lead on setting the meeting up, and then we'll adapt to where you. want to
Okay.
be.
And you'll love it. I mean, they're
Yeah, I know,
each and every, you'll love it. Yeah.
I know when Reva, before the pandemic, Reva's meetings are a force of nature. I've never been anything like that in my life. But she always brought in the librarians. Like when I came to speak there, she brought the librarian, was also invited from Broadway. Yeah, so I mean, so some of them in the past have it. I think we had a different relationship with Chris because Chris held his meetings at the library.
Oh.
So he was either at North Side or he was over at Gunner Park. So
And see, these are all future steps to invite them to tour the library, these are
Yeah.
all future things to get them more. Every time they have to do something for you, it creates a stronger relationship.
and I like what Bill said too, is there something that we can also do for them?
Right.
Because there might be a pet project that they're working on that would also help us. If we can help them,
Right.
then they may then feel more like they can then help us.
Right.
So
Right.
a reciprocity.
Anything else?
So here's what I understand. Clay's gonna tell the branch managers to be on the lookout. You guys are gonna come up with a number sheet,
Right, correct.
then we,
And then
Get
each one
hooked
of
up
you
with
is
our
the thought
council
leader
person.
for your councilman. We're all here to help. We're a team.
and we do this in 3 weeks, within
If we
3
can.
weeks.
And we need to then let Scott or who are we letting know what we've set up? Once we have set up our schedules with the librarians do you all need to know or want to know, or how do we want to do that?
I don't need to.
No.
I mean, I
think
need
it's
to
fine.
know next
Barbara,
month
if
when we
you
all
set it up
report it.
with, your councilwoman.
But
or
I don't need to
council member,
know before
And
that.
just
Yeah.
you meet, If you want another one of the board
Right.
members to go with you, let
Just
us
ask
know. If
Okay.
you want the branch librarian to go with you to that,
Yeah.
get with him or her, talk a little bit, and then,
Yeah.
you know, say, hey, can you make this meeting? But yeah, it's in your ballpark to,
And if
you
the
figure out
branch
how
ma-
you want to do
And
it.
if the branch manager can't make the meeting, Clay or I will go with it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll also kind of maybe, one thing that I know Chris likes to do is after the meeting, she'll write down what happened, you know? And so I'm not gonna speak on behalf of Chris, but like, if you could just maybe provide a little report, is that,
Well, everybody has to, I mean,
Yeah.
this doesn't end
Right, it's
in
not one
3
shot.
weeks. We
Right.
come back again in February and say, so how did it go? What should we do next? Yeah, until we get $8 million in our freaking budget, we keep
We have to
working
meet
it.
every week until we get it.
We'll be sitting outside their office door.
Yeah.
Okay,
We need the
Um,
money.
okay, we're way over. I apologize, but let's, can I get
Can
a
I just say
motion?
one, since
Oh,
we're
go ahead,
already
Chris.
way over?
Go ahead.
I am the point person for advocacy, so if you need something done, I will happily do it.
Got it.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so let's adjourn, and then I can mention, I didn't even say anything about lunch. For some of you new and some of you may have known and figured you wait, but lunch is over here. Take it with you or sit down and eat whatever you feel like. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Janet, and seconded by Chris. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good meeting. I'm excited.
I know.
Get some money for the library.
We need it.
It's gonna be worth